My children, sit down and listen well. Tonight, I will tell you the story of a girl who tried to run away from her skin, only to discover that what she had been searching for was inside her all along. Her name was Amaka, and she was as dark as the midnight sky. Not the kind of darkness that melts into the crowd, but the kind that shines under the sun, rich, deep, and untouched by blemish. But in her village, Umuokoro, beauty had rules. Girls were expected to be fair like the morning sun, or at least caramel like fresh honey. Amaka was neither. Amaka's mother Nneka had waited 20 years for a child. For 20 seasons of planting and harvest, she cried to the gods, visiting dibias and drinking bitter herbs. People whispered behind her back, saying her womb was as dry as the Hamatan wind. Then one morning, when all hope was lost, the miracle happened. She became pregnant. How did she know? She woke up feeling tired and very uncomfortable. Her husband, Ogaibuka, was concerned. He was worried because he did not want to stir the village. It was already bad that he did not have children, and he was rejected by the elders' council. He could not afford any more attention to his family. He tried to use a damp cloth to wipe her body because she was running temperature. That evening, it got worse and she started vomiting. They had to do something. The sky became clouded and it seemed like it wanted to rain, but it did not rain. Ogaibuka and his wife went to see the village medicine woman. The priestess examined her and broke the news. She is pregnant. But she added, "This child will be the rise and fall of many. This child will need you to be stronger than you are." Their joy knew no bounds. After several years of drinking concoction, of trying several recipes and exercises for childbirth, she was finally pregnant. They went home and started preparation. The pregnancy journey was difficult. The baby was always kicking. The mother was always craving things that were out of the ordinary. One day, she even wanted goat's meat boiled with only water. 9 months later, a baby's cry was heard. Amaka was born. The entire village rejoiced. Women danced. Men slaughtered goats and the elders poured palm wine on the earth to thank the gods. But when the baby was brought outside, their joy turned into silence. Amaka was too dark. Darker than anyone they had ever seen before. Some women clicked their tongues in pity. Some laughed openly, and others stayed quiet, unsure of what to say. A child this dark? After 20 years of waiting? Ewo! She looks cursed. The gods must be punishing Nneka for something. Even her own father Ebuka barely looked at her. He started having doubts. He had expected a child fair and beautiful. But instead, he got this strange and dark-skinned daughter. As Amaka grew up, she noticed that she was different. The other girls played under the sun, but she was always pushed aside. When they fetched water from the stream, they walked ahead, leaving her behind. No boy ever tried to chase her during village games. She would sit in the corner and listen to them talk. Amaka is too dark. If you see her in the night, you will scream. She looks like charcoal. If she marries, her husband will run away at night thinking he married a shoulder. The words dug deep into her skin. Her mother loved her, yes, but even Nneka in her quiet moments was worried. How will she find a husband? Will she ever be accepted? Amaka felt the weight of those questions every day. She decided to fight her own skin. One day, Ngozi, one of her cousins, came to see her. She suggested that bathing very often will make her skin lighter. So she started bathing 20 times a day, sometimes even more. She would sneak to the stream when other children were playing and immerse in the cold water, hoping to come out fairer. She scrubbed her skin till it turned red, but when she looked in the mirror, she was still Amaka, still dark. Next, she tried mixing palm oil and groundnuts to rub on her skin. Someone told her it would lighten her. Instead, it left her with rashes. She saved money and bought cheap bleaching cream, but the cream burned her skin, and soon her skin started peeling and her face became patchy. She had pimples all over, and when she stopped, she started going back to normal, dark. So she continued again. Nothing worked. One evening, after Amaka had bathed for the 20th time that day, she sat in front of her mother's hut, rubbing more of the bleaching cream on her arms. The thick, sharp smell of chemicals filled the air. Her mother Nneka had noticed the changes. Her daughter's skin, once smooth and rich, was now red, patchy and peeling like burnt yam skin. As Amaka angrily rubbed the cream, trying to make the dark patches disappear, Nneka gasped, "Amaka, what have you done to yourself?" Amaka jerked back, startled. Nothing, Mama, I'm just... She quickly tried to hide the cream, but it was too late. Her mother grabbed her arms, her heart breaking at what she saw. The raw blisters, the darkened knuckles, the pain hidden behind Amaka's eyes. "Chimo, this is not nothing. Your skin is wounded, eh? How long has this been happening?" Amaka looked away ashamed. Nneka did not speak again. She only stood up, tied her wrapper tight around her waist, and marched towards the road. "Mama, where are we going?" "We are going to see Mama Nnenna now." Mama Nnenna was the medicine woman of the village, an old healer who knew the ways of nature. That night, Nneka dragged Amaka to the woman's hut, deep in the forest. The scent of herbs and burning wood filled the air. Mama Nnenna sat by the fire, grinding something in a small wooden bowl. Without looking up, she spoke. "Why have you brought your child to me in the night?" Nneka knelt. "Mama, my daughter's skin, it is damaged. She's hurting herself. Biko, please help her." Mama Nnenna turned her old wise eyes to Amaka. "Come closer, my child." Amaka hesitated, then stepped forward. The old woman took her hands, turning them gently, her fingers tracing the scars, the rough patches, the irritation. "Ah, Amaka, you are fighting a battle you can never win." Amaka swallowed hard. "I just want to be beautiful, Mama." Mama Nnenna looked at her for a long time, then turned to a shelf and picked up a small carved wooden mirror. She handed it to Amaka. "Look." Amaka stared into the mirror, but all she saw was the dark skin she had been running away from. "What do you see?" "I see me." "Then why are you trying to change you?" "Because everyone says I'm ugly." Mama Nnenna smiled sadly. "Child, do you know how the gods work? They give every man, every woman, every child something special, a gift. But foolish people reject their gift, only to realize too late that what they were searching for was in them all along." She dipped her hand into a clay pot and brought out a smooth dark stone. "Do you see this stone? It is black, just like your skin. But do you know what it is? It is onyx, a stone so rare and precious that even the richest chiefs fight to own it. Your skin is like this stone, Amaka, precious, unique, a gift. But if you do not see its value, no one else will." Amaka's heart was filled with pain. The old woman turned to Nneka. "Take her home. Let her rest. Let her heal. And Amaka, child, stop running away from what the gods have given you. One day you will see its worth." That night, Amaka could not sleep. Mama Nnenna's words haunted her, echoing in her mind. She slipped out of the hut and walked through the quiet village. She went to the riverside, her secret place. The moon shone on the water, and the night was silent except for the croaking of frogs and the rustling of palm trees. She knelt by the river staring at her reflection. Why did the gods make me like this? Tears slipped down her cheeks, falling into the water. She felt alone, abandoned, unseen. She did not hear the footsteps behind her until a hand touched her shoulder. She was shocked and turned. Mama Nneka stood there, wrapped in her old wrapper. "I knew I would find you here," she said softly. She sat beside Amaka. For a while, neither of them spoke. Then Mama Nneka sighed. "Do you know what happens when fire touches gold?" "What?" "It shines brighter." "But I am not gold," Amaka said, looking away. Mama Nneka smiled. "One day, you will see what I see." She stood up, patted Amaka's shoulder, and walked away, leaving the girl alone with her reflection. That night, Amaka made a promise to herself. She wanted to love herself more, but there was only so much that she could ignore. The next day, she overheard some village girls talking about powder and makeup. "If you rub this powder, your face will shine like the moon." That night, Amaka took all her money and bought a cheap makeup kit from a trader. She went home, locked herself inside, and covered her entire face and arms in thick foundation and powder. She looked in the mirror, and for the first time, she wasn't Amaka. She was fair, bright, and beautiful. That evening, she walked through the village square. People stared, the girls gasped, the boys whispered. Then a young man, Nneka, approached her. "Hello, fine girl, what is your name?" he asked. Amaka's heart pounded. A boy was actually talking to her. They spoke for hours. He told her she was beautiful and that he had never seen her before. For the first time in her life, Amaka felt seen. They gisted and gisted until it was night. They exchanged words, laughter, and hope. When she got home, her mother was seated outside. She tried to sneak in through the back door, but then the woman quickly noticed someone unusual and called out. When she got closer, she was shocked to know that the person was Amaka, her daughter. Mama Nneka went into Amaka's room, packed all the cheap makeup and burnt them. Mama Nneka stood there crying, looking at the fire. Amaka was broken. "Why on earth am I a curse?" She couldn't bear to see her mother hurt, so she ran inside and had a bath. The next day, she went to see that boy again, but this time she went as herself. No makeup, just her dark skin. When Nneka saw her, his face changed. "Who are you?" "It's me, Amaka. We spoke yesterday." "So you deceived me. You painted your face like a masquerade to look fine." Amaka was shocked. The village girls had been watching, and at that moment they burst into laughter. Chai! Amaka thought she could trick a man. See her face. Even the sun cannot recognize her. The laughter cut through her chest like a sharp knife. She ran. She ran past the huts, past the market, past the stream. She ran home, locked herself in her mother's hut and cried all night. By morning, she had made up her mind. She was leaving forever. That night, she packed a small bag and left without telling anyone. Amaka ran. She did not look back. She did not stop to catch her breath. The laughter of the village girls still rang in her ears, high-pitched, sharp, filled with mockery. See her black skin, see her black skin. She thought makeup would make her beautiful, beautiful. The boy that liked her yesterday doesn't even want to touch her today. She is cursed. Even the sun has refused to be kind to her. Amaka's heart pounded as she pushed through the bushes, her slippers cutting into her feet. She did not care. She just wanted to be gone, somewhere far, far away. Somewhere no one would laugh at her again. But her body was weak. The constant bathing, the harsh creams, the stress, the lack of food, her body had reached its limit. The world around her spun. Her knees buckled, and then darkness. And that was the last thing she remembered. She had fainted. When she was revived, Amaka's eyes fluttered open. The first thing she saw was a white ceiling. The second thing she noticed was that the air smelled different. Not like her village, not like the earth after rain or the scent of firewood smoke. The air here smelled clean, sterile, like medicine. She blinked. Where am I? She tried to sit up, but a gentle hand pushed her back down. Easy, easy, my dear, a voice said. Amaka turned her head and gasped. A fair-skinned woman was sitting beside her bed. Not caramel, not brown, pure glowing, flawless fairness. Amaka looked around. The nurses, the doctors, even a little girl standing by the door. They were all lighter than anyone she had ever seen. Her heart pounded. Am I dead? Madame Evelyn, the woman who had saved her when she collapsed, laughed softly. No, my child. You are very much alive. She reached out, brushing Amaka's forehead. I found you on the road, collapsed, burning with fever. I could not leave you there. Amaka swallowed. She had never seen anyone like them before, and yet they were all staring at her. Not in mockery, not in disgust, but in wonder. The woman turned to the young girl by the door. Mira, isn't she the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? She lay there unsure of what to do next. The moment she stepped out of the hospital, everything changed. People stared at her, but not in mockery, in awe. Your skin is like the night sky, so rich, so beautiful. They wanted to take pictures with her. For the first time in her life, Amaka felt beautiful, without trying, without changing, without hiding. Amaka sat on the softest bed she had ever felt in her life, her fingers running over the smooth sheets. The walls of the room were painted in soft cream, and the air smelled of fresh roses. Everything around her screamed comfort, but inside she still felt like a lost child. The door creaked open, and Madame Evelyn walked in, carrying a tray of warm food. Are you feeling better, my dear? She asked. Yes, ma. Yes. Madame Evelyn smiled. No need to be so formal. You can call me Auntie Evelyn. Amaka's lips twitched, but the words didn't come. Auntie Evelyn sat beside her, tilting her head. I can see sadness in your eyes. Tell me, what happened to you? Where are you from and where were you going to? For a moment, Amaka hesitated. Then the floodgates opened. She told Auntie Evelyn everything. Her mother's struggle to conceive, the village's whispers from the moment she was born, the cruel laughter of the girls, the endless baths, the makeup that burned her skin, the boy who only liked her when she was fair, and the final humiliation that made her run. By the time she was done, her hands were shaking. Auntie Evelyn listened without interrupting. Then she took Amaka's hand in hers and said gently, My dear, the world is full of people who will try to tell you who you are, but you must decide for yourself. She squeezed Amaka's fingers. You are beautiful, just as you are, and I want the world to see that. See what? Your beauty, your strength, your uniqueness. Auntie Evelyn's eye twinkled. I am a fashion designer. I own a modeling agency and I want you to model my new collection. Me, a model. Yes, you. But I don't know how to walk like a model. I don't even know how to pose. Then it's time to learn. The first time Amaka stepped onto the runway practice stage, her legs felt like rubber. She tried to walk with confidence, but she tripped on her own feet. She tried to pose, but her arms felt awkward. The other models, tall and graceful, watched in amusement. Some even whispered, She won't last. She doesn't belong here. But every time she fell, Mira, Auntie Evelyn's daughter, was there to pick her up. Try again, Amaka. You are getting better. Every time she hesitated, Auntie Evelyn would smile and say, Confidence, my dear. On the stage. Slowly, very slowly, Amaka improved. She watched videos of top models. She practiced in front of mirrors. She walked up and down her room at night, balancing books on her head. And one day, she nailed it. She walked onto the stage in a flowing golden gown, head held high, confidence radiating from her like the sun. The agency director stood up in shock. Incredible! She is unstoppable. Even the white models who once looked down on her now watched her with envy. Amaka was not just good, she was outstanding. Jealousy crept in. It started subtly. Some girls would accidentally place their heels where Amaka would trip. They would make side comments. She thinks she's better than us. Why does everyone love her so much? One girl even tried to spill coffee on her dress before a show. But Amaka, she just smiled. She had survived worse in her village. These little acts of jealousy, they meant nothing. Instead of fighting, she focused on shining. She kept walking, kept modeling, kept rising, until she became one of the best sought-after models in the city. She graced magazine covers. She walked international runways. She became the face of high-end brands. She had everything she once dreamed of, yet something felt missing. One night, as she sat in her luxurious apartment, flipping through pictures of her latest fashion campaign, a thought crept into her mind. What about Mama? Her mother, the only person who had ever truly loved her, was probably still waiting, probably still heartbroken. Tears filled Amaka's eyes. She had to go. The next morning, she walked into Auntie Evelyn's office. I want to go home. Auntie Evelyn looked up. Are you sure? Amaka nodded. Yes, but I will always return. You gave me a new life. I will never forget that. Then go, my dear, and when you are ready, the runway will always be here for you. Thank you for everything. And with that, she booked a flight. It was time to return to the land that once rejected her. It was time to show them what she had become. Amaka returned to Umokoro, not as the girl they mocked, but as a wealthy, successful woman. She built a foundation for children with low self-esteem, teaching them to love themselves. The same village that mocked her now celebrated her. She stood before them, proud, tall, and darker than ever. And for the first time, her father, Oga Ebuka, looked at her and said, "My daughter, you are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen." She named it the Eveka Foundation, after the two women who gave her life, Nneka, her mother, and Madam Evelyn, her second mother. And this, my children, is why you must never run away from yourself. Because one day, the world will chase after you. Own yourself and be proud of it.